Hey, everybody, it's Everett with Ohio for Freedom. I hope you're having a good Sunday evening to conclude a happy and restful, joyous weekend. We certainly are. We did not have any New York strip today, but I was enticed into grilling a fairly sizable hamburger, and that's all my wife needs to just really go to work and go to town. So maybe that helps me to be a little more relaxed this Sunday evening, because we have some subject matter, folks, that I want to go through, and in a way, it's getting a certain leg of a certain assignment off my plate. It doesn't complete that assignment, but it does kind of finish a leg of a certain assignment. And sometimes I'll say this, I'm just jumping right in. By the way, if everybody can hear, somebody type in here. I always my paranoia. I got that one little bit of paranoia that I work with. It just helps me to know people can hear, and so somebody will say that. Everybody, there are certain things that we knew when we started this that we're really hoping we didn't have to say. And there were some things that you pretty much know, but you want some documentation before you feel comfortable saying it. And then there's also those things that you wish that things would take place, materialize, so to speak, so that you just wouldn't have to deal with it. Alas, ladies and gentlemen, such is not the case. And so we're going to have to deal with some things and just frankly say some things that I wish we didn't have to say. But that's the way that it is. I think it's analogous in some respect to say, I'm so glad that I am not emotionally or ego invested in the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, it was quite interesting to watch them almost win a game that they promptly lost. I don't have an emotional dog in that fight. And sometimes it's kind of fun to watch things take place if you're a little bit emotionally detached. I won't say I'm completely emotionally detached about Solid Rock, but I'll just say again, maybe it sounds like I'm beating around the bush, that I wish I really, if it were up to me, certain things would have turned out a little differently. But it's not all up to me. And when at the end of the day, we got to do our job. So we got a lot of ground to cover, going to deal with some stuff that we really don't want to have to deal with. And this is not a program for children.
I hear the sweet sound of freedom, and I won't be
long. So I was contacted by phone 2 weeks ago by Selena Bishop. And in retrospect, looking back, I'm going to go over some of that communication. And it might have been initiated in good faith. I don't believe that it concluded or continued in good faith. It might not have ever been in good faith at all. On my end, it was. And we're going to talk about that. But yeah, we're going to talk about some interaction with Selena Bishop. And that could have turned out way, way, way differently. And it could have turned out a whole lot better for Junior Mint and Selena. And I wish nobody any ill. But if there's one thing that we're going to do our best, is going to be faithful to the truth. I'm going to look at a couple of portions of scripture here. This is Esther 4:10-14. I want to read it and then just make a couple comments. Then Esther spoke to Hathach and instructed him to tell Mordecai, all the royal officials and the people of the king's provinces know that one law applies to every man and every woman who approaches the king in the inner court without being summoned, that he be put to death. Only if the king extends the gold scepter may that person live. But I've not been summoned to appear before the king for the past 30 days. When Esther's words were relayed to Mordecai, he sent back to her this reply. Do not imagine that because you're in the king's palace, you alone will escape the fate of all the Jews. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place. But you and your father's house will perish. And who knows if perhaps you've come to the kingdom for such a time as this. I'm not going to too directly compare the conversation and the interaction that I had with Selena Bishop with Esther, but I will say there's always an incentive to be quiet. There's always an incentive to stay within the safe confines of the establishment and to not make waves and to try to blend in and to justify. It seems like that's what Esther was doing in the beginning. Oh, we've not been called. And if anybody goes in without being called, all these bad things can happen. They can be put to death. And, I think the enemy's pretty good at putting into people's hearts and minds in some situations that if they open their mouth, bad things are going to happen. And I am really, really running out of patience with the continual experience of encountering people that are afraid. And I don't mean that I'm impatient with those individuals. I mean, I'm tired of this. God's people should never be afraid. God's people should never be afraid to speak the truth. God's people should never be afraid to stand up and applaud champions, which leads me to Saturday morning in our prayer group. A dear sister really wanted to share this passage of scripture that I'm going to read right now. It really hit me, really struck me. Proverbs 24, 10 through 12. If you faint, it looks like I cut and pasted minus the word if. If you faint in the day of distress, how small is your strength? The King James would read something like, if you faint in the day of trouble, your strength is small. If you faint in the day of distress, how small is your strength? Rescue those being led away to death and restrain those stumbling towards the slaughter. Kind of sounds like a directive. Rescue those being led away to death and restrain those stumbling toward the slaughter. If you say, behold, we did not know about this, does not he who weighs hearts consider it? Does not the one who guards your life know? Will he not repay a man according to his deeds? Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that we have an unction, that we have a duty, that we have power from on high to speak up and speak the truth, to tell the truth. And if we fail to do so at the expense of rescuing those that are perishing, he that weighs our hearts knows this. He considers this. And so I want to say to anybody out there that is protecting and helping evil to hide, speak the truth. Speak the truth. And you know, a good way to know if you're speaking the truth is you're not concerned about the results of it. You're not trying to control how somebody's going to react when they hear it. You're not so concerned that you say it just the right way, just the right time, and if just the right reason. Oh, and I got to look at just tell the truth and tell it openly. So let me just get to this. Nope, I'm going to play a clip. I've got a clip queued up, and I think that I rarely do this. I'm going to play a clip from about 2 months ago. We started dealing with the whole Crumbling Rock Chronicles almost 3 months ago, and this was probably about 3 weeks in. Be nice. I've tried to be nice, and I'll also just say this. Shame on you. Shame on you. I found out the extent of his crimes. I found out the extent. Well, when did you find out the extent of his crimes? I mean, so you already knew about other crimes, but what? It didn't matter until you found something else out. Is the what you found else out was that something else like hit closer to home, like maybe real closer to home. So if it's real close to home, it really bothers you. But until it hits real close to home, it doesn't. I mean, we're trying to figure this out, and you're the only one that can answer. There's only a couple of questions there, bro. Junior Mint, what did you know? And when did you know it? And why didn't you say something? And then when you knew the extent of his crimes, why did you sign what this letter's all about? Why would you do that? Shame. Shame. I've got two thoughts I want to express, and we're gonna call it a night for tonight. And thank you. Please like, please share, please subscribe. Goodness gracious! If you'd like to help us. All right, I think that clip might be over. Okay, and so here's the thing. I used the phrase. I said maybe it didn't concern somebody until it hit really close to home. I have an affidavit. I've shared this almost 3 months ago. An affidavit that attests that on a ride back from Nashville, Lawrence Bishop Jr. was fielding a phone call from his mother when yet again, they were dealing with the predatory behavior of Lawrence Sr. And upon the conclusion of that phone call, Lawrence Jr. confided to the friend who was more than happy to come on camera but there's no reason for them to come on camera. They do a lot of important, very good things. And if I called upon them, they'd be here in a heartbeat. Nevertheless, the affidavit exists. And so the narrative that was spun about a year ago, that somebody just found out about the predation, the predatory behavior of Lawrence Sr., it just does not hold water, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't hold water at all. And so it does lead to the question, what did you know, Junior Mint, and when did you know it? And I understand it's difficult. Hello. Life is difficult. Ministry is difficult. It's about guts and it's about leadership. And I'm sorry, but we're not going to be able to handle the idea of going along with yet another false, comfortable narrative. And the affidavit is pretty strong that you knew a long time ago. So your discomfort rather, didn't begin a year ago. It began a long time ago. So I received a phone call. Was it this week or that week? It was the week that we had so it would, if the 18th was on a Saturday, had to be in Atlanta, this would have been on Monday of that week or Tuesday of that week. No, it was Monday of that week. And I didn't feel good. I shared that with people. I didn't feel good. I had kind of this seasonal sort of like allergy thing, kind of infection going on. I'm literally on the couch about 7 o'clock at night, dozing. And my phone rings and I hear call from Selena Bishop. And I'm like, what? I woke up. I walked outside and we had a 12-minute conversation. I could pull you the screenshot. And I would probably have kept this conversation completely confidential if I had been dealt with in good faith. And I have concluded that I have not been dealt with in good faith. Because in the conversation, I was asked, what would you think of the idea of us, Junior and her, paying for counseling from a certain counseling firm in Blue Ash, Ohio, for victims of Lawrence Sr.? And I had to say, first of all, I was kind of shocked to get the phone call. I'd made a phone call 2 months before, heard nothing back. And I said, I'm going to have to continue this conversation because I don't trust anything that I say right now because I'm really woozy headed. I don't feel good. I'm just not all there. I don't trust anything I think or say, but let's talk in 2 days. And we did talk in 2 days. I'm going to play you a little bit of what came out of that conversation in 2 days. But the idea was that, well, we've talked about it and he'd like to, or they'd like he wants to pay for counseling of victims of Lawrence Sr. Now, folks, I'm telling you, I tried to be as nice and accommodating as I could. I was not, as was suggested in the phone call. Well, you're kind of an investigative journalist. Oh, no. I ain't sure what quite we are, but we ain't an investigative journalist. Because if I was, there's a whole lot of questions I would have asked. Like, when did it happen? What happened? Who did you know? I would have asked things like, come on, where did you make the copies of the letter that you sent out? Because you did send out the letter, right? Did you also sign the non-disclosure, Selena? Because your name was on the letter threatening to enforce the non-disclosure. I could have asked a whole lot of questions that I didn't. But as the Lord is my witness, I was trying to treat this like this was a conversation in good faith, and I've concluded that it was not in good faith. So here's the thing. Why am I going to out this conversation and out other information that has come my way? Number one, because I'm not sworn to protect it, and I will not swear to protect it. One thing that we have seen over and over and over again is the outward working of the evil of bringing people into covenants of secrecy, and I'll not be a part of it. I'm tired of protecting stuff like this.
I was 14 years old, and the Lord spoke to me at a little church on 6th and Vine Street in Hamilton.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm going to use you mightily in the ministry. I want you to be kept. I went and told our youth pastor, I was so excited. I told her, I said, oh, Sister Settle, I said, the Lord told me he's going to use me mightily in the ministry.
I could play more of that clip. I wanted to show, this is from like 2 weeks ago, and this is Darlene Bishop. She's fought her way back from a stroke that she didn't have. She told everybody, said, oh, she didn't have a stroke. It's not a stroke. The first thing she says when she gets back, I had the biggest stroke that the world's ever seen. Even the devil was surprised at how big the stroke was. So she's up there on the stage, and then this is just a couple of weeks later. And what does she have to do to tell the little congregation of whatever, when God told me he was going to use me so mightily. What an amazingly humble thing to say, Darlene. Oh, he's going to use you mightily. What did he use you mightily for? To cover up this. I am ahead of myself. See, this, I'm building a case here, folks. I want you to say, this is what I'm tired and baffled that people want to protect. Here's another part from that same service. I'm getting somewhere.
That most people experience in life is failure to seize the moment. I've heard my daddy give a testimony many times and tell about how that he was called to preach when he was 17 years old. But his daddy died and his mom was there with 7 kids. And he said he would say, I left Nashville because it was from Tennessee. He said, I left Nashville and went to work to support my mama and the family. But he said, I miss God. He said, many times I would preach to myself and I would think if I just had somebody to preach to me.
And so she's telling this story of her daddy had to take care of his family, had to take care of his mother and his younger siblings when his father died, and he missed God. Really? There wasn't a way to have a call of God and still attend to those responsibilities. See, when I listen to Darlene, I'm going to be used mightily and I'm important. It's like I have a chance to be Elvis Presley too, but I'm going to be a preacher Presley. I'm going to be a Loretta Darlene Lynn. I'm going to be a Darlene Lynn Loretta preacher. I mean, folks, is it about the name and the recognition and the money? And your name up in lights, or is ministry about the gospel and about the people of God? And if it is, it seems like there are no links that people won't go to make that stagecraft thing happen. And then I just want to deal with this and get it out of the way. Early on, I had a guy call. And I was short of time. We had a conversation. I said, hey, I'll call you back next week. Let's talk. His name is Kevin. I know his last name. But see, these are the kind of people that I'm trying to paint a picture before I get to the punchline, folks, of what people are defending. Because what people are defending is gross, it's ugly, it's sick, and I believe the Lord's judging it. I want to introduce you to Kevin.
Everett. Hey, this is Kevin Richards.
Oh, he introduces
you are
himself.
a P-O-S capital P capital S for sure.
Okay.
Bruh, I mean,
Nice
will
talking
you
to you.
erase my messages up there? You erase my post? Are you kidding me? I'll be at you guys' meetings. So when you guys go to meetings, I'm going to blast Candy and Donnie. Candy, yeah, dude, I mean, I can get real nasty on here, man. I mean, like Candy, I mean, I'll have to, forgive me, Lord, but I know dirt on all of them. I know dirt on everything.
And so Mr. Kevin then goes on to explain that Lawrence Seniors really didn't have any victims. And this, I am not going to play this. He goes on to explain that Lawrence, how do I say this in a way that's acceptable? Lawrence Senior looked so masculine in tight Wrangler jeans when he would ride a horse that the women couldn't help but just throw themselves at him. And it was never Lawrence Senior's fault. And I could play the whole thing, but I'm not. This is what people are protecting. And it looks like these are the kind of people that are protecting it. I want to keep going because I am not interested in protecting. And I want to just remind, I'm just going to play this. Let it speak for itself.
Laugh at the devil because this is so crazy that he thinks that he's going to bring all this together. And I mean, it's going to cost Donnie his job. It's going to cost you whatever, you're not going to gain anything by this. I mean, because touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. I mean, Lawrence might have said something that you were not pleased with or whatever, but you're not to touch him. He's the anointed of God. Whether you like him or whether you don't like him, he's anointed of God. He was called God to do this work. And if anybody comes against him, they're in trouble. Not Jesus even said, don't make their job hard, because if you do, you're in trouble.
Yeah, y'all know that scripture where Jesus said, don't make their job hard, because if you do, you're in trouble. That's in the book of First Bishop, chapter Darlene. Folks, why am I doing this? I'm going to get to this conversation. I am trying to say this is what people are protecting. This false doctrine, this demonic doctrine, touch not my anointed. So I don't have time to rehash everything with Candy and Donnie Spence, how they were horribly treated, how Lawrence Jr., that, you know, if I had $5, I'd rather give it to a foster kid than somebody else that's struggling with, because all of that, having her removed from the choir, calling the police to have people removed from church. And yes, I have the documentation, and there's Darlene saying, touch not my anointed, but yet it didn't bother Darlene to touch the person that she called his anointed when she got rid of him and had him sign a non-disclosure agreement in exchange for accepting money for a year, allegedly. That letter that I have, that could be Russian disinformation. I don't think so. But this is what people are protecting. And this is what people expect, that they're going to call me up and they're going to dance around with this little teenage fantasy plan. Well, what if all the people and all the victims that you're talking to, what if you just refer them to this particular counselor, and in exchange, we'll pay for it? And yet you can't put anybody on the phone or put anybody on paper to say, this is what the arrangement would be. This is how many patients we can underwrite. This is how long we can underwrite them for. These are the way things would work. I just kind of kept my peace, kept my mouth shut, so the thing could play out, to be able to prove that this was completely and totally, at best, a romantic, teenage-like notion, and probably more likely a farce. And I want to say this, Junior Mint, what is your wife doing calling me without you on the other end of the phone? What in the world is going on? And do you even know that that happened? Do you know that your wife is calling this program with this wild, crazy scheme, attaching your name to it? Is that what's going on? Do you even know about it? I apologize. I really wanted to just drive over to your place this week, knock on the door, show you the screenshots, show you the say, look, dude, you know this is happening, right? I just didn't have time because, Junior, just like everybody else, I got a life too. And Selena, I'm very insulted that you didn't follow up. I don't take you seriously. You know what? I forgive you, but that idea, we're not going to go there. We're not going to go there. So is there anything else that we see? This, I'm tired, folks. People need to realize they are sticking up for not only this one particular family business church that is not a church, it's a family business, but they're sticking up for an entire wicked system. And I want, from that same meeting that I just played a clip from, the Touch Not My Anointed clip, I want to play this clip as well. You might recognize this voice.
There's nobody saying that you're not anointed. You're anointed to build. You're anointed to fix. I don't know all of your anointings, but I know you're anointed. You know? But when it comes to...
So yes, that's Phil Driscoll trying to take the comment from Donnie Spence that yes, when Donnie mentions, well, hey, my wife's anointed too. Well, Phil's trying to kick in with his word of faith theology and say, oh, of course she's anointed. And of course you're anointed too, but not like the big boys are anointed. That's what you're about to hear here.
Position. Yeah. If someone is in a position as a pastor, a teacher, an apostle, those positions are to be protected.
That's what I wanted you to hear. In that same conversation, Phil Driscoll will go on to say, I'm a general in the army of God, and I have great authority, and talk about his levels of anointing. But he said, if somebody is a pastor or a preacher or whatever he says, that is to be protected. And folks, I'm here to tell you that that is not biblical. That is not biblical. I'll tell you what is to be protected is the sheep. The sheep are to be protected. The sheep are to be protected from the wolves. And Darlene Bishop is a wolf. And her husband was a wolf of wolves. And when you are protecting a wolf, you are a wolf. And Phil, this whole thing that you're saying, you will then go on to applaud your wife when she then moves into, and yes, this is a little bit of a review, moves solidly into Pentecostal witchcraft, but you must think that she deserves to be protected.
That if I have $5, girls, let's have a meeting. If I have $5, I'm just saying. Trash him. No, for what? Yes, you are. That is your goal. Listen, Pastor Darlene. Candy, that is your goal, is to destroy Lawrence. I see it right now in the name of Jesus. I feel a spirit over me right now that is contrary to everything that we preach, that we teach. And I can see it on you. And if you cannot see that, it's hard. It's a hard thing, Pastor Darlene. It's a hard thing to talk about. My God, I cannot believe what I just felt in my spirit towards you. You are in trouble, girl. You are in trouble, Darlene. Candy. I am not trying to be. You are in trouble with the Lord. It's. Quiet yourself, I say unto thee, quiet yourself, or I will quiet you, saith the Lord.
That's the word.
I'm done, Candy. I'm so sorry.
All right. I just wanted to do a little bit of review. That's what some people still want to protect. And so when I get a phone call, well, what if we stay quiet and stay anonymous? But what if the people that you're talking to, the victims, what if you send them to this clinic so they can get counseling and they can get healed? But we'll keep it all quiet. We won't say anything. Nobody will know that we're involved. I am not going to be part of a secret cabal. And I gave you time to prove that there was something sincere going on there. And I went out of my way to be understanding. I was really, really, really kind. But there is a human side involved here, folks. And I'm just like you. I do not like being played. And I don't look, there's one thing that'll make this situation better. It's called the truth. Tell the truth. And quit trying to control the truth so that it benefits you, if at all possible. So there are two questions that I asked. And one of them leads up to a piece of audio that fell in our lap that we weren't looking for. And I'm just going to go there. And here we go. And this is so sad that this had to happen this way, because people could have simply told the truth. Let me play this. Here we go.
I don't want to weaponize what I've been through, but I will, set my heart on building something that's different. And, and there's a lot of naysayers and people there's always going to be skeptics, and it might not be for everybody, but that's kind of like where I'm coming from.
I understand. I'd like to ask two questions.
Sure.
One, what was Darlene's reaction when you told her that you'd been raped by her deceased husband?
Everett, you're good at what you do.
No, I'm not good at what I do. This is me. I'm asking a sincere question. Did she try to bring, how did she handle that?
Oh, you know, that's a very private question.
I'm sure that it is.
I'm not gonna confirm or deny that. I don't want to get into that. But
I understand.
I respect you asking. So you said you have another question. What's the
And
next one?
here's the second question. Folks, I never, ever wanted to go there. We knew this before this project ever started. We knew it. Didn't want to go there. And it wasn't on this side of the aisle or this side of the discussion that caused this to come up. I'm going to play for you in just a minute what brought this up. But see, I can understand, and we're talking about something very, very serious. So let's just spell it out for the people that haven't figured it out yet. Darlene Bishop, who you just heard engage in witchcraft against someone that had very legitimate concerns. Darlene Bishop that has covered up for the wicked, predatory, sinful folks. There's a lot of things we haven't talked about regarding her first husband that she knew about for decades. We said that from the beginning. Still has his name on the pavilion there on the property there. Still has him in the mausoleum that's like 30 paces from the church building. So there's all of that. But that Darlene has a son married to a victim of his own father, Darlene's own husband. Never wanted to have to say that. So it's really delicate. Oh, how can you deal with somebody's personal situation? Well, I'm really not the one that's made somebody's personal situation more public, and I'm going to play that for you in just a moment. Well, now everybody's got their story, and you need to let them, they have to tell their story. Yeah, but their story's already out there. And so once I've heard a story and once you've heard it, here's the thing. When silence comes at the price of someone else's victimhood, then silence is not justified. If out of some false sense of decorum and dignity and care and concern, why do we have care and concern about the privacy and the dignity of some individuals, and we could care less as we trample on the care and concern of others? Oh, but they're interested in getting counseling. Well, first of all, that's not even a good faith offer. It's been demonstrated that was just some kind of a romantic, distractive notion thrown out over the phone. There's no substance to that. And secondly, even if it was, I used this. I could play this, but I'm not going to take the time. I used this as an analogy when I was speaking to Selena. I said, the problem with that is, let me use an old-time analogy. Let's go back to the Civil War days or the slavery days. You have Massa in the plantation house at night sending for the servant girls and exploiting them, and they leave damaged and bruised. And then somehow let's superimpose a little bit of 2025 on there. And somehow, we're going to get them some counseling. We're going to get them some healing. Well, whether that works or not, you still have Massa in the plantation house. And you still have the filthy system. And you still have the filthy Massa mom that knows all about it and didn't do anything about it because she don't want to put the plantation house in jeopardy. And I am not. Burn the plantation house down. Burn it down. And so I say, let's just go back to what our dear sister brought to us on Saturday morning. If you faint in the day of distress, how small is your strength? Rescue those being led away to death and restrain those stumbling towards the slaughter. If you say, behold, we didn't know about this, does not he who weighs hearts consider it? Does not the one who guards your life know? Will he not repay a man according to his deeds? Folks, I'm not going to keep quiet. I realize that I talk about this more than the average person, and that's good, but I'm not going to keep quiet. I am not going to cover stuff up, and I'm not going to help you do that either. And I'm not going to say, well, God leads one person one way and he leads somebody else. The Lord is about shining the light of truth. Nobody wants to know anybody's gory details. That's not it. Tell the truth. It really comes down to this, Mrs. Bishop. Tell the truth. Testify against your wicked mother-in-law instead of trying to profit by it. Oh, that would never happen. Nobody would ever try to. Oh, wait, well, just hold on a moment. Hold on a moment. Hold on a moment. He has projected an image that is false to all the people that have supported, all the people. And so she's part of something that is fault. And see, it's not just the essay victims that are victims. It's right. The people that she has lied to and to get money out of and position out of. I just have to ask then why? And this is going to hit close to home, but here we go. Why would Lawrence Jr. relay your story to other people in order to influence them to come to meetings where he is preaching and ostensibly support with offerings and their attendance? If we're not going to deal with that, why are you using that story to influence people to support you?
Well, I will say that, how do I want to answer this? So you think he was sharing the story in an effort to garner support for himself?
I don't think, I know, because I have the audio.
Well, I think that here's where we're a little bit different.
Yeah.
I think sometimes there are facts, and then facts with different contexts are different. And I'm not justifying it, but
sometimes there are facts, and sometimes there's facts with a little context. Well, here's one fact, Mrs. Bishop. I didn't sign a non-disclosure. Now the letter, I could pull the letter, but the letter was addressed to both of y'all. So did you sign the letter? So the non-disclosure, was trying to give the benefit of the doubt, but more than likely, don't know for sure, more than likely you both signed it. So is that the reason that you want to protect a predator? Because if somebody is married to a predator and they protect them, they're an accessory to predator. They're a predator. It's the same thing. It is the same thing, the same evil, the same wicked. Why would you protect Mass's mistress? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Now, am I way off base? Folks, I told you we're rounding a corner here. I did not want to have to go here. How much I went out of my way to say the story is going to be told. The story is going to be told that Darlene Bishop allowed this to go on for so long and to such an extent that eventually it did hit really close to home when her daughter-in-law is the victim of her deceased husband. And she could have done something about it years and years ago and prevented it. She might not have made as much money. She might not have been on TBN. She might not have became friends with Joni Lamb. She might not have ever preached and took those $1 million offerings with T.D. Jakes and with Juanita Bynum. Maybe all that wouldn't have happened, but she could have protected Karen. She could have protected these other ladies whose names are not going to come forward. And now everybody has a better idea of why they're not going to come forward so far, because of this environment that still exists, largely because of people like you Selena, and your husband that would rather take money and sign an agreement than simply tell the truth. We don't want the gory details. And I could be a little bit offended in the very first phone call. We said, because you might get some juicy details. This ain't about juicy details. This is about the ladies, the young ladies especially, that have health issues in their early 30s and 40s that they would not have if it weren't for the spiritual and psychological trauma that's inflicted upon people in these evil, wicked systems, which you guys appear to want to protect. Because if you weren't interested in protecting, you would simply tell the truth to everybody, not just when it might benefit you personally and temporarily, which brings me to the last clip, and I'll explain the context.
Trash, if it comes to Solid Rock anymore, to throw it in the trash, you need to put up a mailbox. I used to get my mail at the church because they couldn't, my address was left, and they couldn't find, they would take my mail to live.
So what you're hearing is a phone conversation previous to a preaching engagement just a few weeks ago, where Lawrence is really wanting a former member of Solid Rock Church to come drive an hour or so to leave the church that they have relocated in and are happy in, and drive like an hour to go hear him preach. I guess give a big offering, but to go support him. And so what he's doing is he's talking about how tough his life was. They signed the non-disclosure and went through all of that. And no, we didn't write the letter, didn't have nothing to do with that, but we get, all of that. And so he's talking about mail that doesn't get collected. And then that causes a cell phone bill to not be paid because, you can't pay a cell phone bill without paper mail, I guess. Anyway, all of these different hardships and calamities, but then he'll move in for the jugular and he'll bring up the situation with his own wife when it benefits him. And I didn't want to have to go here, but I'm not the one that brought this to me. Here we go.
Been down like by the Golden Lamb. That they, for some reason, my address don't show up right here on GPS, or it didn't for years. So I just picked up my mail at the church. It made it easier. So they cut off my mail. They cut off my phone. And I was in Oklahoma. I didn't have a phone for 4 days. They couldn't get my phone. And I've just been harassed nonstop. My sister sent me 3 certified letters threatening to sue me for cutting down 2 trees on her property. And I have never cut down a tree in my life. Had no idea what she's even talking about. It's just on and on and on and on. Just they threw stuff in my driveway, threw no signs, trash in my driveway, been harassed, but I know that God's he's my source and he's my defense.
Okay, so far is just the laying out the case of how bad it's been for me. Life's really, really tough, and that's why I really need your support. I really want you to come, not go to the church that you've been a part of and are happy in and comfortable and settle in, but I want you to, get up and drive an hour and come see me, and then here's the real reason.
And like I said, men of integrity, time to tell the truth. And people are going to know the truth. When someone has taken something from your wife like that when she was 19 years old, and then when she finally, because the Christian counselor told her she didn't tell somebody that it was going to destroy her. I didn't know why she was going to 2 counselors for 2 years. I thought, what in the world are you doing all this counseling for? Well, then when she finally, someone spoke out before she did, wrote all those letters to the church. We still don't know who done that. We had nothing to do with that. So my whole family blames Selena. They blame the victim for all the downfall of Solid Rock. They're like, this is all Selena's fault. Okay. She gets raped by a maniac that says he's a man of God that was her pastor since she was 13 years old. And then it's her fault. for saying something. You know, it's exactly like the Daystar situation where those Daystar kids got fired for telling.
Actually, Lawrence, it's not exactly like the Daystar situation. There's some similarities, but a big difference is that Jonathan Lamb did not sign a non-disclosure. And Jonathan Lamb did not take a big severance chunk of money in exchange for silence. And Jonathan Lamb did not selectively tell what happened. Jonathan Lamb and Susie Lamb told the truth to the entire world. I've met Jonathan. I've met Susie. They're real people. They're good-hearted people. And they have suffered. And they don't live in the house that they lived in when all of this started, but they're very happy. They're in another state. But they told the truth. And they continue to tell the truth. And they're not protecting the evil mother that's involved with silence. They're speaking out, and they have cooperated, and they're not part of the evil system anymore, Lawrence. And that was your opportunity, my brother. Didn't have to be involved with me. Didn't have to have anything to do with Ohio for Freedom. Selena, that was your opportunity. And I would say still, that opportunity still exists. You can still tell the truth. But right now, your silence empowers the perpetration and the continuation of that evil, foul, wicked system that's going on. And it didn't have to be this way. You could have been an Esther. You could have spoke up. Junior, you could have spoke up because you've been within the bowels of the system. You know it better than a lot of people, and you could have spoke up instead of signing on the dotted line. Give me my 30 pieces of Judas silver here because I want to buy my potter's field, and I'd rather protect this evil, wicked system than tell the truth. And you went on to say that I could care less, brother. All these lies, 100% lies. You've still failed to produce even one lie that I've told. And I'm not even going to go there where you called my dear brother Ray, some black guy from Georgia. Brother, it didn't have to be this way. It didn't have to be this way. So Darlene finds herself in the position of crumbling rock church, and everybody knows the truth. She would rather have protected an evil predator and paid off victims, you know what? There's one person I don't want to forget. I don't want to forget this person. But doesn't want to be on camera. I would prefer my name not be told, but I will tell you what he did to me. The worst time was at a funeral when he tried to get me to come over and bring him dinner. And then I said, no, I'm at a funeral and your wife's not in town. And he went to hug me goodbye. And he had I'm not even going to say that, even though I blotted out some of the letters. And he ground into me or me into him. And then he looked at me and said, are you sure you don't want to come over? I wanted to puke. I consider him a father figure. He's a pig. Yes. I asked back, did you know? Yes, she knew. Did Darlene know? She knew about all of them. And if she would have stopped him after me, he would not have gotten to Karen. And that really angers me. She came to visit me after my surgery, and I thought, oh my gosh, how sweet for her to come by and visit me, because she was really busy preaching during that time frame. And this was during her popular era. And come to find out, she popped down on the hospital bed and said, honey, tell me what he did to you. I want to know it all. I sang like a bird. This poor sister thought, after what she'd been through with this evil, wicked man, that Darlene actually cared about her. No. She just wanted the details so she could learn how to manage them. So I'm just going to summarize. It's very sad. I shouldn't have to do it. And I don't want the details. I don't want to know where this happened, what happened, how happened. And can I say something else? Just for the folks, listen. In situations like this where it doesn't matter. Okay, the ages involved would have been like a 19-year-old and a 45 to 50 years or more or whatever, preacher figure, folks, there's no such thing as consent. I'm shocked that even some ladies will say, well, if there's somebody's over 18. I am shocked at the amount of ignorance that people have in this area. So let me go over a couple of basics. Ladies that are abused in their childhood or teenage years, even later, it's usually 20, 30 years before they ever can come to a place where they can talk about it. That's just the way that is. So every time you see in a comment, well, if that had been me, I'd have stormed out immediately. They don't understand what's going on. But the sad truth is that Darlene Bishop has a son that she has no relationship with, got rid of, fired, non-disclosure, don't ever want to see you. And she has a daughter-in-law that is a victim of her deceased husband that she covered up. Now, I don't know how it gets any more complex than that. And I'm sorry that if I'm talking about something that's so delicate you can't talk about it. Well, I'll tell you one reason that I will talk about it is because Junior Mint will talk about it if it might get some money in the offering at a traveling gig that he's got somewhere. Okay. But the real reason that I talk about it is because I've seen it over and over and over and over and over again. And we're only one little voice, but we are joining together. We are putting an end to this cover-up culture, this cover-up culture of corruption. I'm going to go back to my slide. I'm going to reread this scripture. If you faint in the day of distress, how small is your strength? Rescue those being led away to death, restrain those stumbling towards the slaughter. And if you say, behold, we didn't know about this, and doesn't he who weighs hearts consider it? Does not the one who guards your life know? Will he not repay a man according to his deeds? If you would like to support the program, we could sure use your support, folks. I will tell you that we are about to finish up a leg of an assignment that we've been on for almost 2 months, and we could sure use your help to finish it up. On ohioforfreedom.com, the donate page of a PayPal link. You can use any card that's in your wallet that you like to use, Zelle. It'd be mostly appreciated. I'm in a good mood, and I'm glad that this is over. I'm sorry this had to happen that way. I would still encourage the bishops to just and if you sign something, is it really honorable? You know what? I'd encourage you to defy what you signed and repent of what you signed and speak up and tell the truth. And put that crumbling rock institution out of business. Don't wait for the FBI to do it. Don't wait for the attorney general to do it. Don't wait for the local prosecutor. You've got the goods. You could put them out of business. And y'all, until next time, God bless you. God bless your family. God bless the state of Ohio. God bless the United States of America and all of our dear, sweet brothers and sisters around the world. Good night.
I hear the sweet sound of freedom.